Simon, a lot of investors are using Western consumer staples as bond proxies at this point in time. What are you looking at?
Well, they are, and it's obviously a key focus of the market. But whenever the market's overly focused or enthusiastic in one area, there's always opportunities elsewhere. We've always seen this. We've always managed to find neglect elsewhere. So there's three key areas in the Brands Fund at the moment. There's the renewal in Europe, there's the emerging markets, and there's the Chinese tourist.
Let's start with the renewal in Europe.
Europe's been through a period of austerity. They're starting to free up the purse strings. We've seen that in the US with the QE program, and it's starting in Europe. The jobs are starting to come through. And if I give you an example, let's talk about Piaggio, the iconic Vespa scooter. They've struggled for the last few years with collapsing new sales. Yet when we look at the insurance statistics, the fleet has stayed remarkably stable. Now, if we make the assumption that people won't insure something they're not using when they're struggling for income and a job, then that's actually quite interesting, because the age of this fleet has gone from perhaps 75% of the fleet under 5 years old to a third of the fleet under 5 years old. And at the current renewal rate, it would take about 40 years to renew the fleet. Now, the Vespa is a wonderful machine, it's very reliable, but not 40 years. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
And emerging markets?
Emerging markets, again, we've seen tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people move from below poverty to having a job, to getting some income, to having a little bit of disposable money to spend. And they're buying maybe their first pair of shoes for $1 or $2, some personal care products, maybe some soap or toothpaste perhaps, but also their first stages of packaged food, packaged milk perhaps, or yogurt. These are high nutrition at low cost. And in a young population, and let me give you an example, Vietnam Dairy, Vietnam's 40% of the population is under 25. So to offer an efficient nutrition through dairy products, that company has been growing something like 20% per annum for the last few years. And with the young population, this is a very impressionable age, under 25s, growing up learning about Vinamilk and Vinamilk brands, not Coke or Nestle or Pepsi or even Vegemite. So there's a lot of potential and opportunities to continue growing at that rate there.
And I'm sure Australians are interested to hear about the opportunity in Chinese tourism.
Chinese tourists, what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing 100 million tourists. That in itself is a terrific number. It's a huge number. 100 million Chinese go on holiday every year. That number is projected to grow to something like 400 million within 5 years. It's one of the few sectors that the Chinese government is actually supportive of. They're encouraging their people to go overseas and spend money. The Chinese at the moment account for about a third of luxury goods spending globally, but half of that is overseas. So spending is important. And when we look at the surveys of the Chinese tourists, 40-something% of them say the primary purpose of their holiday is shopping. Go to shop. 80% of all the tourists say shopping is vital. So a growing number of tourists traveling. They want to spend, they love to spend, and that's very exciting.
That's great. Thanks, Simon.